Hey everyone, I'm Sarika. I present this video in hopes that anyone who looks at it can take something away. Please enjoy. Today's video will be about an integral part of our everyday lives. Therefore, our topic of discussion is communication. Before we start, here is an outline of the video. So, during this video we will touch on the following: the definition of communication, the process, types, levels, barriers, and lastly, some tools for effective communication. Communication is a crucial part of our daily lives, so let us get a proper definition for the following question: what is communication? By definition, communication is the process of exchanging information and ideas. It is an active process. It involves encoding, transmitting, and decoding intended messages. Up next we look at the communication process. In the communication process, we have the sender, receiver, the message, the channel, encoding, decoding, and feedback. People communicate in different ways. As such, there are two types of communication. They are verbal and non-verbal. Firstly, verbal communication is when messages or information is exchanged or communicated through words. Verbal communication may be two types: written such as an email, or oral like in person seen on screen. Here are some pros and cons of verbal communication. Pros: fast feedback, time saving, clarity. Cons: lack of retention, possible misunderstanding, not suited for long messages. It's important to recognize that it's our nonverbal communication, for example our facial expressions, gestures, eye contact, posture, and tone of voice, that speak the loudest. Here is an example in motion. Can you tell what this graduate is communicating to us by his posture? Nonverbal communication have the following three elements: 1. Appearance, 2. Body language, 3. Sound. There are different levels of communication: interpersonal, intrapersonal, small group, and mass communication. Let's explore these levels further, starting with intrapersonal. This communication occurs in your own mind. It is the basis of your feelings, prejudices, and beliefs. Examples are when you make any kind of decision like what or when to eat. Here, we have interpersonal communication. This is communication between two people, but can involve more informal conversations. For example, when you are talking to your friend. Small group. This is communication with informal or informal groups, or teams. It is group interaction that results in decision-making, problem-solving, and discussion in a company.
Mass communication is the electronic or print transmission of messages to the general public. Outlets called mass media include things like radio, television, and printed materials.
So far, we have covered what is communication, the types, some levels. Now we will focus on barriers to communication. Barriers are obstacles in a workplace that prevent effective communication. The barriers we will discuss are psychological, physical, cultural, and language barriers. Language barriers. Language and linguistic ability may act as a barrier to communication. For example, a doctor that solely speaks in medical terms to his patient distorts messages. The psychological state of the communicators can influence how the message is sent, received, and perceived. When we are angry, it is easy to say things that we may later regret. Obviously, communication is generally easier over shorter distances. An example of a physical barrier to communication is geographic distance between the sender and receiver. Bonus barrier. Systematic barriers to communication may exist in structures and organizations where there are inefficient information systems. This can reduce quality in a firm. Some ways to break barriers are to take the receiver more seriously, send clear messages, deliver messages skillfully, focus on the receiver, and be aware of your own state of mind. According to the 7 C's, communication needs to be 1. Clear, 2. Concise, 3. Concrete, 4. Correct, 5. Coherent, 6. Complete, 7. Courteous. This brings us to the end of the lesson. Before we leave, let's test your knowledge. 1. Name 2 levels of communication. 2. What is an example of non-verbal communication? 3. List 5 of the 7 C's of communication. And that, my friends, brings this video to a close. I would like to thank you all for watching. I hope this was useful. See you next time.